Hi everyone, so I'm reviewing a indie movie called Apple Cinema. It's a short film because it's under 50 minutes, it's about 42 minutes long, so we classify it as a short film. And it's about a virus infection that happens as a result of a meteor strike in Boston in the USA. And it's basically a zombie apocalypse scenario where we have a small group of people who shelter themselves in Apple Cinema and basically have different motivations about what they want to do, and it causes conflict between the three leads we have. So we have the director, Conor Holway, who also wrote the screenplay. He plays a character called Coach, and we have another young lead called Kevin Perrington Turner, who plays a character, called South, and Drew Dunn plays a character called Xander, who is actually a cinema attendant who worked there before the virus spread. So I really enjoy this movie. I thought it was a good blend between a sort of quirky comedy style and horror thriller elements. So it's sort of a mix of different genres, and there's also a bit of a mystery aspect in there as well. And what I did like is how it's just restricted to this one building and this one city, with a small cast sort of character-driven drama, which is the main driving force of the film and the narrative. So instead, with some zombie films, with this kind of sort of big scale apocalypse across the world. That's what we are used to seeing in a lot of films, and this one is a lot more focused on just a really small cast, which I found really interesting. And it has like a sort of an unconventional kind of narrative where it takes a little bit of time to realise where we are in the story, because we have the present with the three leads in this cinema, but we also get flashbacks, and we don't at that point in the movie know whether it's flashbacks or flash forwards, but it's showing how the meteor crashed and what sort of led up to these characters ending up in the cinema. And I found the special effects of the actual meteor crash to be really, really strong for an indie movie, especially. I just found it to be quite similar in a way to actually Terminator Judgment Day with what they were showing, because you had people and buildings literally incinerating immediately, and I think a tsunami was caused as well by the meteor crashing into Boston. So I thought that was a really good sequence, which really just showed the danger the characters were in, even if they weren't killed by this meteor. The virus that spread afterwards as a result made people into zombies, basically. So you ended up having to hide away and look after each other, basically. And that sequence was really good at showing it, and it was quite early on in the movie as well, so it really did a good job at just sort of highlighting the danger that everybody was in. And I think the director, Conor Holway, I think he did such a good job with this movie, with the blend of the comedy and the other aspects. So he plays Coach, who is the sort of the main lead, I'd say, because we tend to focus more on him than the other two, and he seems to sort of be losing his grip on sanity in a way, because they've been locked in this cinema for about 3 years, I believe it is, and he has like a cardboard cutout of Chris Evans, which is what I found quite funny, because he would be working out or making a note of the days that were passing by drawing a line on the wall, or he'd be talking constantly to this Chris Evans cutout, which was quite funny and quite tongue-in-cheek as well, because Conor tended to reference the Marvel movies throughout, and there's also actually an end credit scene as well. So I thought that was quite a humorous sort of spin on the movie as well. But he also makes a really good like sort of creepy kind of tone, but it also is juxtaposed by these light-hearted comedy moments, which I thought was really interesting, and it was balanced out really well, and the movie never felt too dark or too funny. It was quite a good middle ground, I thought, for what they were trying to do. But yeah, I think the visual aesthetic was really interesting and really nice, because they had they sort of showed the aftermath of meteor crashing, with it being an sort of creepy orange glow in the atmosphere, and lots of like dust clouds that remained from the crash outside in the exterior shot. So you could tell that it was quite a devastating impact on Boston. And then you do have a couple of attacks with the zombies outside, and it was really good at just showing that nightmarish kind of apocalyptic imagery, which we've sort of seen with other horror films. So I thought that was really effective, and I thought performances were good all around as well. There was nobody who stood out as a bad performance. And Drew Dunn, I would say, is a particular shout out for me personally, because he was playing the sort of creepy cinema attendant who appears to have suffered some kind of mental affliction after witnessing the zombie attacks. And he sort of speaks like a robot who's been programmed to promote the cinema in quite a exaggerated positive fashion. And whenever our two other leads speak to him, it's just like he's just possessed, or he just doesn't seem to have any humanity left in him. And it's quite creepy performance from Drew Dunn, and it's really effective at sort of showing how all these characters have been so badly affected that they can't even have a grip on sanity anymore. And it did remind me of the bartender Lloyd from The Shining, actually, with it being quite a disturbing scene when you first are introduced to him, and Connor's character, the main lead, is talking to him, and I think he's asking for something, and it's really weird because he's just sort of introduced to this cinema attendant sort of constantly wiping Vaseline all over his hands, and when he speaks to him, he just doesn't have any humanity in him. So I thought that performance was really good, and it was just a really strong aspect to the movie, especially when we take into account there's a good twist ending towards the end as well, which I don't want to spoil, but it was a really good sort of flipping of our expectations, where we've been introduced to these characters and we think we know sort of where they are, and it just flipped everything onto its head. And I thought that was a really really interesting direction for the narrative to go in. And with the post-credit scene at the end, it sort of ties a little bit more together, and you sort of kind of want to see a sequel in a way, actually, because you sort of see what's happened to the characters, and you think, oh, it'll be interesting to see what happened next. But it's also quite a good final place to leave the movie, and I thought it was a really nice, strong final scene, which tied everything together quite nicely. And it did just have this good sense of horror aspects, a little bit of thriller, and this character-driven narrative, which is what I found really good about it and quite strong. And it was directed really well, and just it was a very well-crafted movie, and the self-awareness of Holway was really good, and it just made a very entertaining 42 minutes, I thought. So I think if you're looking to support indie movies this Halloween and want to watch a good horror movie, sort of like a mix of other different genres, but it's a good one, I think, to go with, and it's also easily accessible through YouTube when you type in Apple Cinema. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the movie if you decide to see it. Thank you. Bye bye.